Download it today.
He is a 5-time New York Times best-selling author and a science fiction expert. Jim Marrs joins us now to talk about the book Battlefield Earth and why he thinks it's such an important read. Jim, how are you?
Howdy, Jennifer. It's a pleasure to be with you. Yes, I'm excited. They're re-releasing Battlefield Earth by L. Ron Hubbard that came out about 30 years ago. I remember reading it at the time, and I thought it was just a rollicking good story. It's about aliens taking over the Earth, but what's interesting is that unlike some of the more modern presentations of that theme, I noticed they're coming out with a new Independence Day. These aliens didn't come to destroy us and blow up our cities and everything. They came from the Intergalactic Mining Corporation, and they came to strip mine the minerals of Earth. And oh yeah, those humans, those pesky humans, they just kind of got in the way. And I think this is maybe worth considering these days now that if you go on Google, type in UFOs, you see that there's UFOs being sighted and photographed on a daily basis around the world. And if you really go check, because I did teach a course on UFOs at the University of Texas at Arlington for 7 or 8 years, that you go back through history and you find that all through history, people have talked about these things flying through the air, from the flying boats of the Egyptians to the flying dragons of the Chinese, to the Dogon tribe in Africa that talked about visitors from Sirius, the Aborigines, the Incas, and the they all have stories of these sky gods that people flying through the air that would come teach them knowledge. So I think it's time that we start taking the subject very seriously and start understanding that we are part of an intergalactic family, and we probably need to start acting like that.
Yeah, and like you said, this book is 30 years old and now becoming more popular than ever. People are rereading it, maybe reading it for the first time. Why do you think this is such a good read for maybe someone out there who hasn't picked it up and read it yet?
Well, because it gives you a whole broad spectrum of various issues about, are we prepared for an alien contact? Are we prepared for an alien invasion? Stephen Hawking recently said maybe we shouldn't be sending space probes out there with maps of where we are because we might be drawing someone in that we might not want to have contact with. And I think there's some legitimacy to that. We need to start thinking of ourselves as citizens of the galaxy, and I think that Hubbard's book, Battlefield Earth, kind of typifies that, gives us a good starting point.
And why do you think this is still relevant today, even 30 years later?
Well, for one thing, it's just a good story. A good story is always good. I was reading science fiction back before it was even classified as science fiction. That only came in the mid to late 50s when they decided it was definitely a genre of literature. But some of the stories going back even into the 1800s with H.G. Wells and his War of the Worlds, the flight to the moon, the science fiction stories have always been the cutting edge of human progress, because they tell us about things that might not have yet happened, but yet if you stick with it, they all too often turn out to be true.
Thank you so much for joining us and talking about Battlefield Earth. Want to let everyone know, for more information, you can log on to battlefieldearth.com, or for more information on Jim Marrs, just go to jimmarrs.com.
Team weather coverage of your local